and then we'll reprove ask for a motion to approve the June 1st minutes.
So we already discussed just the one typo of my name, but that was it.
Right, but
So, yeah, I'll make the motion to approve minutes from June 1st.
a second?
I'll second.
And Catherine, you're aware of the typo? Okay.
Just hold on, I got,
You got something else?
item number 5. Actually, that had to do with, we had some emails that we sent up towards Stephen Kiley about the Bloom application in terms of whether or not we should be considering if there is if the septic system upgrade is required by Suffolk County, and what initiated that was somebody having a land use action that was not, that wasn't changing improvements or anything like that. This is actually the current code, and I can see why that was confusing. I had item number 2 listed in red, and so Catherine thought that was the change that we were requesting. And has the Bloom application been completed now?
Oh, that's on the 8th, you guys are voting on that.
Yeah.
Is that the-
Your vote.
Okay.
Is that on the work session or on the town? Oh, so it's at night.
The 6 PM, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Strike 2.
I think we should just strike number 5 entirely, and
The whole thing? Okay.
I think so. I think that, I don't think that there's a consideration, to changing the town code.
Well, no, you did ask that.
Well,
We did ask that.
Yeah.
All right.
This is just this is the representative of what's there now.
Or maybe,
We did discuss it,
We
so
did
it should be.
discuss it, so it should be in the minutes.
all right, so you want to leave it, that's fine, and then provided, current version is provided
Right.
below. And then that's fine, and we're not expecting to see a change to the town code on the 8th, obviously.
No,
So, and I don't know what your plans are, but
either call it resolution or not, right?
Public hearing.
No.
Will we reopen it? I think we will.
What, the Bloom application?
Yeah, no?
No, I thought you
Public hearing
guys
for it.
were supposed to just discuss it and have a vote, a resolution, as to whether it should
no
be
public
accepted
hearing
or
for it.
not.
oh, no,
Okay, because it's part of the rebate program.
Right.
That's already
We
yes.
preset to
Yeah.
not have to have
Yeah.
public hearings.
Yeah.
That's right.
Right.
Okay?
All right.
but they have
We just
to,
didn't agree on, with whoever was here and Greg.
Well, I can understand,
I know
I can
Greg.
understand his concern.
I get it.
And I think
No,
it's
we all can
something.
understand it.
Right. And so we put it up, we told them our vote, which is our job. We put it up to the town board, and now they're going to decide what their decision is.
Exactly.
100%. Okay,
Is that good, Greg?
yes.
all right, so to approve the minutes as discussed,
Yes.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Now, the town board approved last week
Yeah.
there are recommendations.
Saw it.
So going forward, the only thing that we really need to discuss.
It's not approved, it'll be approved
Oh.
on the 8th at the town board meeting.
Okay, so
Discussed that it
you
was-
discussed it, all right. Well, so then,
But it seemed like you were all in favor.
Yeah, we went over it thoroughly.
the only thing that's still up in the air
Retroactive.
is the retroactive stuff that you need to just sort of,
I thought we
Fathom
came to a
You came to a consensus,
consensus that if it was not yet paid.
right. So all things in action are in the queue.
okay.
So if at this
So the
point,
point of all this is that
Yeah.
pending the final stamp of approval from the town board, we then will undertake reviewing the applications that are in the pipeline and the ones that a couple of you just got. We all got, but some of you have been tagged to read the
And I suppose a letter, or, or an email, we have everybody's email, send an email that we want to let you know that, that this is the new, funding levels. And so that they're aware of it and don't come in without.
Well, they're gonna be unhappy.
Well, they're very.
I can't imagine they'd be
Let's hope
unhappy.
not.
If we were cutting it back, then maybe we should apply it.
So I guess, well, Catherine, would you be able to, with Amber, to determine who are the open applicants? And then we can get the verbiage and send it out and get it over to you, and you can send that note out.
There's about 6 or so of them.
Yeah. It's like one of those. How unusual, an email you want to receive.
Catherine needed to sit down. She'll need to update some resolutions. Okay.
So, anyway, so that's good news, I think, and, the town has put out an overture to the people in the center, 145 or so replied in the positive to have their water tested. And Meg is going to present a request for funding for that project.
So we actually did even better than 145. We had
Okay.
166, which was
So
just
that
about,
was, some came in.
yeah, it was just about 40% of what we sent out,
Okay.
which is pretty cool. So when we first started this, WAC had the idea of trying to get more accurate, more recent water quality data in the center triangle, which is a hot spot. And that all came around because of the debates back and forth about wastewater treatment plant versus individual IA systems. And so while we were trying to sort out how to do it, the WAC had the idea, well, why don't we just go out and test people's water? Or why don't we just give them test strips? And we're like, well, that's not really, legit enough. You don't want to be giving people false information, false positives on a strip test from Amazon, So we came up with the concept of trying to partner with an actual testing company to get some basic tests done that would let people know the general quality of their water. So I reached out to Goldman Water Testing and explained to them what we're trying to do, explained to them the potential number of people that we had involved. And they were able to negotiate a really good rate for us. So it's $89 a test. And each test does E. coli, coliform, nitrates, nitrites, ammonia, and MBAS, which is essentially common detergents. So all of these things combined are indicators of wastewater in your drinking water. And so it's not necessarily a potable water test done by Suffolk County Department of Health, where it's a $1,200 test that tests for everything under the sun. But this gives you some really good basic indicators of your water quality. And hit some of those real concerns, those hot buttons like nitrates. And the MBAS, the common detergents, is also an indicator of potentially other things. So that's what they've agreed to do. They're going to test for those things. So we have 166 people who have signed up and given us permission to test and to share their data with us. The whole process will include the test, a chain of custody, and all the collection is going to be done by Goldman Water Testing. Originally, their proposal did not include them scheduling all the testing, but I've had discussions with them since then, and they volunteered to do the scheduling for us. So we don't have to try to schedule and coordinate all the homeowners with the testing agency so that, so we don't have to do that anymore. And they also said they don't want to be paid extra to do that. So they're keeping the number at $89 a test. And they're going to do all the scheduling and coordinating for us, which is great. So what will end up happening is a collection agent from Goldman Water Testing will come, and the homeowner has to be home because they need to take a sample from the tap. And then they also need to take a sample bypassing filtration if possible. So they can get a sample without treatment and a sample with treatment. Just like they would do if they were coming to your home to do a test. The reason why we went this way is because then you know the testing protocol is legitimate, it has the appropriate chain of custody, and so you know it's a valid sample. And then we've set up a method so that the town will never know the individual homes associated with the nitrate levels and the nitrite levels. Instead, we're going to get it back in a spreadsheet without any identifying information, just broken down into regions. So I have a map that shows you the different regions that I've broken down the triangle into. And I will share.
Was that in the email too?
It was in the email, yeah.
Yeah, I have it here.
And
So it was the triangle, I thought, but that's what I noted.
well,
Yeah.
it's the whole triangle, and then, Catherine, may I share my screen? Because this will just help you understand how I've broken everything down.
General.
All right, so we have the triangle. It'll hopefully show up. Okay. So the red area is the triangle where we sent the mailing to. The blue lines that I've put over that are the watershed lines. So where those lines occur, the water flows in opposite directions away from that line. So there's this one line, here I'll use my mouse, that comes kind of right down School Street. And so that's a watershed line. So everything on this line kind of travels this way. And then if it's here, it'll travel this way. So when I went and broke down the triangle, I did it based on watersheds and kind of neighborhood areas. So it turned into 13 different regions. And as you can see, this first region up here is this watershed for the most part. This region here is kind of this watershed. Same thing. So it kind of goes watershed and neighborhood. So down by Fresh Pond, you'll notice there's kind of a cluster. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit better for you guys. So it breaks it down, oops, sorry, into 13. And I did it this way because when you look at the disbursement of where we got a lot of samples, it kind of evenly disperses throughout the triangle, which was great. So I know that, for example, this area looks very large, but a lot of this is the horse farm. So there's no homes in that area. And same here, this is also horse farm. So they actually come out to be sort of even. But I think that'll help us get a pretty good understanding of the different neighborhoods in the different watersheds. It'll help us look at the direction of groundwater flow in relation to where we may end up with hotspots and where we don't. So I think it'll give us a good understanding of how to make a heat map here with a reasonable size data sample for each area.
So they'll be reporting, for instance, the light green block, it'll be, we have 9 tests in the light green
Exactly.
block, and test 1 is test 2, so there will be a breakdown.
Yes,
And so potentially in the future,
we can resample.
we can resample, yes, and also be able to resample from, not with a randomized thing,
Right.
where,
We can look into like specific areas and say, okay, let's say green block number 8. That, I'm making it up, I don't know if this is
Sure.
true. Maybe it's a hotspot. And so now we know in this cluster, maybe we want to retest in a year, in 2 years. Or we want to see if people have now installed IA systems, does that change the quality of their water? So maybe, we want to try to target specific areas based on their water quality and how that shows up on the map. So this is kind of a general way to do it so that nobody's personal identifying information is targeted, and it's really just based on an area of that groundwater flow.
They all get their tests.
But they will all, each homeowner will have their water test sent to them directly from Goldman Water Testing. So their water test doesn't come to the town, it comes directly to them.
They know what the results
So
are.
they'll know what their results are.
Maybe we could put another postcard in with the test results. Say, if these test results cause you to wanna upgrade your septic system,
Well,
call.
no, that's coming next.
That's next on the agenda.
The next one.
So to your-
You can't send it to anybody because you don't know who
But
it
if
is.
Goldman could put it in with the results.
Well, so what I discussed with Goldman, because their specialty is the water, not necessarily the sanitary, was that we would put an explanation letter in of what the results mean and what they indicate. And so, you know, and maybe target the letters for different levels. So if you're below this level, this is what it means. If you're at this level, this is what it means. If you're at this level, this is what it means. And kind of do a little description of what each indicator could mean and, you know, just help educate the public who are getting the water test back. Because you don't want to send something, have them not be able to read it and panic, and because they don't understand what they're looking at.
So how long is the testing gonna take them, did they estimate, like?
Their goal is to test towards the end of August, I think August like 20th before the holiday weekend.
Okay.
They want to get it done in maybe like the 1 or 2 weeks before the holiday
So they're
weekend.
gonna do them all before like Labor Day?
That's the goal.
Okay.
So we should have it back early September.
Did you send this map with the emails?
You scroll down,
what, if
they're
it's-
both on the same
I
one.
got fooled too, I looked and I was like, oh, it's not there, but then it's the second piece.
Second page, yeah.
So just looking at that, it was strictly the people in the triangle because I'm in the watershed there, but I never got it, but
Yeah, it was just people in the triangle, so you were outside of the.
just out.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you stay there?
Okay,
I had originally thought of like a grid, but I think the way you've set this out is, it does it as well, and
Yeah.
better perhaps.
I thought of a grid too, and then I was thinking deeper and I was like, well, functionality, I don't necessarily want things that are crossing over watersheds because I'm not gonna have an accurate reading. I'm not gonna have an accurate representation, so
I think this is good.
that's why I did
like
it this way.
Good job, I like it.
So obviously, while I'm not the only person who thought of this at the work session when this came up, you know, my thought immediately went to, well, here's a perfect opportunity to, these people are interested in their deal, you know, like what's going on around on their property and water quality and everything. Why not use them as the first target to see about this IA initiative that we want to help guide people through the IA process in this center triangle. And to maybe what BJ says is not a bad way to do it. You know, maybe we give Goldman these cards and they put it in there, you know, and if people are so interested, you know, they could mail the cards in.
Or just
Or do we we could write another proposal to them?
to everyone who responded.
Well, to everyone who who wants the water test.
Right.
I mean, just to struggle, so we don't spin our wheels. Those people seem to be more inclined
Is the
to
answer?
embrace something like this.
Yeah.
So if, you know, this is what we've been sort of talking about and figuring out, and it seems like we have the perfect opportunity here to try and do something like that. So the question would be, how best to initiate that? I mean, you know, yeah, I guess you could glean issue or interest from a postcard returned, and then, you know, give them the full Monty of what the proposal would be, which we would have to come up with, and we'd have to talk to the providers and see if there's just like Goldman, maybe there's a better deal if you got like 100 people to put in a IA system, or maybe not.
And then we'd have to figure out the content of this card, and sometime.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, the content of the card and
Yeah.
that would have to be done rapido.
Yeah, because we only have 2
You
weeks.
know, and that might be the better way to try it
It may be better following this, like wait for everyone to get their results back
and see how happy
and
they
then
are.
see what the map looks like. And then you could do a more targeted outreach, especially if it's kind of a pilot for how you're gonna do your concierge program, and kind of make sure that you get your kinks out before you go bigger with it.
It's gonna be targeted. It would be then one more step. We can't do it.
Correct.
Right, so they, you know, you just
Yeah.
give them a batch of cards, you know, and they could address them and mail them. You know, again, try to
Right,
ensure.
so that there's a privacy.
Yeah.
Well, what we can also do is if we understand that there's a hotspot on the map, we can do another assessor role for that area and mail out to everyone in that area.
That's
So that might be a better way to do it, because then you're not just getting the few people who responded in that area, but that whole area.
yes.
So that may be,
Right, the premise of,
But I'm.
I mean, I have,
people who-
that's the people who are engaged.
Who are engaged, you know, let's hit them while the iron is hot, you know, but maybe let them see how smooth this process goes, you know, and, you know, that'd be more inclined to, respond in the affirmative. Maybe.
It also, it lends into, this is not one of the specific categories of making the water cleaner directly. And it seems like it would fit in the stewardship or the administration of the WQI funds. And we've talked a lot about how do we get people saying, oh, I ought to do this. And if you were, if in an if an application comes in, the question, very simple, were you part of the center wastewater system? Then we'll have some measure of this is really kicked. If we get 25 applications and 20 of them are part of this program, then I think it's money really well spent, and it's appropriate for the stewardship, advertising, publicity thing.
Right, no, I think
we would
definitely.
know, but we would actually know just as members of the committee, because we know our town and we know the addresses, like from the applicants, we would
Yeah,
know,
but
like,
we
no,
would
but we
know-
know that they were somewhere,
But
somewhere.
they
We won't know whether or not
Well, no,
they
they're right, if they're
have
gonna-
requested it.
Yeah.
Right.
I was just gonna add that I was trying to put myself in the shoes of the people that got the thing, and I feel like, I still feel like it should go out with the results, because I'm thinking if I were the homeowner and I got my results, and now I'm reading your extra piece that explains, like, if I get this result, it means this, and so on. If I got a poor result, and then I have the card that has about the septic, I don't know, I feel like if there's a gap in time there, the person might say,
drop that
okay,
thing in the mail.
and I would fill it out, I'd be like, oh, a solution, and then I would drop it sooner than if I put it in a stack of papers on my desk as a homeowner, you get distracted and then you forget about it.
There's no
Right.
contract or anything there, I mean, would you be interested in, being a part of this program where the town facilitates the installation of your IA?
And then we don't go back to Goldman, later
Right.
and
Please
bother
address
them
these
again,
people,
I don't know,
you know.
that's,
Yeah, no, that I agree, that,
It could be
One time,
sort of
let's not
a cheap
do-
thing.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking, I don't wanna bother these guys a
Yeah.
lot, so.
So the bottom line is that we're not gonna wait till all of the requested data pieces are in. They're gonna bleed out, 10 in a day, or
Right.
10 per week or something. So you had mentioned maybe we would wanna wait until we had the whole population, probably.
But we could,
Probably
we
not.
then could then.
A year and a half. It could be
Figure
a
out.
year from now.
We could then target, everybody who sends the card back doesn't necessarily get to be part of the program. Maybe
Yeah.
we say, okay, well, we have these people here, they're in the bad zone, the green zone, or whatever zone it was, that, it has shown to be the worst of the worst, and perhaps we target that. But I think getting a level of interest card back
Yeah.
wouldn't be the worst thing in the world.
So I
Cheap way to
think we
go.
should decide for our next meeting, because we would have another meeting, second week of September? Right, no, first week of September.
First week.
We should decide exactly what the content is that we want on our mailing. I
we
mean, we
need
all
to
have an
do it.
idea in our head, but what specifically, what verbiage do you want to
Do a
put?
little emailing before then if you.
I think we need to do that starting tomorrow.
Yes.
Yes,
Everybody kind of let's,
do a brain dump on what we should.
start.
Yeah, I might be able to get something out, and then it's sort of easy if you have something to pick apart, to
Right.
add, you're missing this, and then y'all just jump in. Not too
I mean,
much.
it doesn't have to be, it can be pretty simple,
Bullet points.
now you have your water results, would you like to take the next step and perhaps participate in this program?
And that wouldn't, in terms of the propriety ownership of the information, them getting a letter from us saying, we understand you have been part of this program, we don't know what your numbers were, however, contact us and we'll help you run through what's going on.
And I think we should use the word concierge in the postcard, definitely.
Yeah,
And it should be pre-stamped. So there's no
Yeah,
thinking about this.
well, it's a phone number and an email too.
Right.
That's, and most people, how did most contact happen? Catherine?
A lot of it was dropped off, some of it
Oh,
was
really?
coming back.
Really?
Yeah.
But not a lot of mailing. Okay.
And approximately 48 emails,
Okay, good.
just emails who heard about it.
Yeah, I mean, most people probably don't care that much if the results of their water tests are public, you know, I mean, I don't see why I would, but, you know, maybe, you know, they have the option to have that, you know, veil of anonymity,
Yeah.
so.
So the ask, I realize I might have actually forgotten to do the math for you in the early
Money.
conversation. So the ask is for $14,774 to pay for the 166 water tests.
What was the number, 14,000 what?
166 times 89.
774, 14774.
14774.
That's 166.
Now, it doesn't include the mailing we did, the WAC paid for the mailing out of their account. So they've already paid for all the mailing and everything. It's just for the water testing.
Plus whatever we want to put into this postcard.
Right.
Right.
And this falls within our jurisdiction.
Say it again?
Oh, yeah,
This falls within our jurisdiction.
It falls in our jurisdiction, and, you know, that it is not, I think the motion would be something to the effect of that, no, those number of dollars, and that we're sending this up to the town board, saying we recommend that you authorize this sale. Please recognize that this is a stewardship, advertising, publicity. We're trying to get people involved. It's not one of the categories.
Well, paying for
It's
the water
administrative,
test,
it's
paying for the water
administrative
test
part.
is, I mean, the water test is something that is a tangible thing, that is a tool to be.
It doesn't make the water any cleaner. Everything that's in the
It's a
code.
step towards perhaps.
Oh,
making-
well, yeah, that's
I mean,
towards it,
you know,
yeah.
Right, but like Greg's saying, it falls under the administrative part of the,
And I think we should make sure that is part of our motion to the town board, so you guys know, you know, that we're considering this to be appropriate from the standpoint of stewardship of our role and advertisement, publicity, and trying to get more interest than we have now or have had now, you know, in the process. And that would be so moved.
All right, was that the?
that was the motion.
Was that the motion?
So because this isn't part of our rebate program, we'll have to
Have it.
first set a town board hearing and then have the hearing. So if Catherine can get this to us, we can put it on the agenda for Tuesday morning and maybe set the hearing on Tuesday night, just to keep this going.
Rolling.
Well, since I'll second it.
You want to make it a teeny bit more concise?
What do you want in there?
I mean, nothing, I don't need any more in there, but I don't know that anybody got that whole.
Catherine got it, right, Catherine?
You know, listen to the recording.
You know, it's got the white button, the button is white, so I'm pretty sure.
All right, I mean,
I mean, I didn't say
I
the number
understood.
of the dollars, but the numbers of the dollars were there, so.
14,774.
Say it again, louder.
14,774 for 166 water tests. I'll second it.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good work.
All right, so that, with the piggybacking thing is done, so you'll send that out to us
I'll get you
quickly,
something.
and then we'll all respond quickly and get something that we can all say yes
Does the
to.
resolution include paying for that postcard?
I think that would be a separate,
Okay.
I think
bless
that would be
you.
separate.
Separate, okay.
Yeah, because this is really just the money to pay Goldman for the testing.
All right, so,
September.
All right.
It's probably, Catherine, it's about 28 minutes into the meeting. So when you go to the,
Yeah, okay, good.
Okay, so
WQI is on many people's radar for funding from various things. And there's, a lot of consternation and worry over the harbors on the town. And maybe some of you know this and some of you don't, but the areas of these, adjacent to the anchorages have been closed to shell fishing, just sort of as a preemptive measure by the DEC. The DEC, right?
DEC.
Yeah. And, without really any solid testing or results of anything, that they just, because it appears that they have not in a number of years done this survey. And so I guess out of an abundance of caution.
No, it's a compliance with an FDA food safety program, specifically shellfish, which is found in other areas that boats lead to bacterial contamination in other areas, not necessarily here.
Right.
So the abundance of caution is, let's just close any place there are boats, mooring fields and transient anchorages. We close them to shellfishing preemptorily, so preemptorily. And that's what they've done. And so we are engaged with the DEC.
Right. It's not based on current data. There's no science-backed evidence
The
right
actual
now.
current
It's
data
only
from the
cautionary.
Blue Water Initiative has actually shown the harbors that they're testing to be pretty good, and.
There was one bad test. It was on
Right, but that was
July.
because of the rain.
Because of rain, it was so clearly because of rain, so clear that it was that. And then it goes right back to normal in literally, so it's literally not the boats. I mean, you kind of can say it from that one spike. It's not the boats, it's the rain.
Right. But they're going along, following this to its semi-conclusion would be that, perhaps the town needs more resources to do some of this more boarding of boats, and checking on holding tanks and things like that. And, there's the ever-present thing about a pump-out boat owned by the town. That comes up on a regular basis. However, bearing in mind that in the three harbors, there are facilities already in existence to deal with pump-out.
That was one of the reasons why we included that in our long-term plan.
I think
Into our long-term plan.
to motivate, people say, people don't motivate to get off their anchor to go get pumped out. Well, if the cops were checking them all the time, they would be motivated. And if there were, my partner is, keeps bringing up, don't just warn them, fine them. People out in Anchorage, give them a ticket.
Yeah.
Start, I'm not saying to try to make Shelter Island a place where nobody wants to go, but so people begin to know that, hey, I better stay in the anchorage and I better make sure that everything is copacetic with my holding tank because, there's a likelihood I could get boarded. And if there were resources that were needed additionally beyond what is in the budget and stuff like that, I could see somebody asking us for more money. And that's just my perception of what I've heard.
No, I've heard some similar things.
So this isn't a request for money. This
It's
is
not a request, it's just
Putting
like
it on
put it on your
alert for us.
radar, along with many other potential people looking for, money that is
So,
many cases probably could be well spent. I mean, we have some money to spend. Of course, if we, spend, 160 IA systems at $12,000, we put a big dent in it. But I don't see that necessarily happening.
More money is trickling in.
More money comes in and, there are a lot of people who are on our case about, well, what do you do when you have all that money? What are you gonna spend, what are we gonna do,
next 2 years, we might be putting 150 units in when these cards hit.
Well, that's what I'm saying,
So,
but I think You know, I think the deal is, we don't need to have the money just sitting there. We should do it, use it, you know, and let's make the water better.
Well, reasons, it's not, first of all, it doesn't make the water better. What would you be doing here? Hiring policemen? I mean, what?
I don't know.
This is.
I don't know, you know, what it takes to do more. And I'm not saying this is something that would happen. I'm saying this is potentially something that could happen. You know, and so I could see,
But Greg, on,
you know,
when we all met to go over the long-term WQI plan, if you remember, I think it was like 8th or 9th bullet point on that list was possibly having someone come to us to fund a pump-out boat.
Yes, a pump-out boat is
So
different.
that
from
was like,
testing
that's a
the
rough
water.
example, like what James was saying, that could be
but
something.
we're not talking
when we
about testing the water. We're not talking, we're talking about compliance.
Right.
You know, you know,
I guess
you know.
my feeling right now is that, and again, that there's nothing in the code that supports and makes WQI what we're allowed to do. We're allowed to fund a boat. I don't see how.
We're not allowed to fund people to make sure that they're not pumping sewage into the water?
So what, you're gonna hire policemen to look and see?
I'm not hiring anybody. I'm just saying, they already are supposed to be doing
What
it.
would the money be used for?
Nobody does it though.
You know, like boarding boats, taking the time, boarding a boat, making sure they're in compliance with the you know, the federal regulations of not discharging overboard. You know, that's a big deal. You know, there's a lot of people in Shelter Island that think that, you know, that these areas are being polluted by transient boats. Personally, I think most people try to do the right thing, you know, but if there was more of a word that, hey, people are getting boarded and, you know, we better be careful, that could go a long way to, you know, making them get off the anchor and go getting pumped out at Island Boatyard or
Wait, so,
Cozy's or
so
something.
just so I understand the difference in the price.
this is just one example.
No, I want to make sure I understand. So you do agree with me that what I said about that we would be able to fund a pump out boat that. falls
Yeah, the boat,
under-
absolutely. That's right in the code.
Right, it's a code. And what you're concerned about, which I do understand, is that you're saying that the enforcement, just basically the enforcement of it would be a different category that we do not cover. So part of it, he's saying you would agree
Perhaps.
with, the other part, no.
I
Perhaps.
think there's a
BJ,
couple-
what do you think?
I think there's a couple of places in there that you could make an argument. What water quality improvement project means,
Yeah,
one of
which
them
one?
is pollution prevention projects.
Oh, there you go.
If we, let's just say we took a 2-week period, just as an idea, 2-week period, and we were gonna just blast it out there. We are boarding, we are enforcing, it's a project. It's then a defined project. And what went into that? There's hours, man
I
hours,
think you'll find the word municipal in that in that section.
municipal as opposed to police.
Well, no, I think the action, and I could be wrong.
Well, in any case,
Yeah.
this is not something that's gonna.
That's
It's not happening right now.
I'm not saying, maybe it's a bad example, okay?
No,
But, you know, I don't necessarily agree, Greg, that you're right about this.
Yeah.
You know, this is your opinion. You know, if somebody did ask us for this, you know, but the town is very, sort of, you know, not wanting to spend, money from the regular budget on things. So I could see somehow this trickling down to us in some fashion. This is just on the radar.
Owned and operated by municipalities.
Which would include our police force, no? I'm not
Owned and operated by municipal.
The underlying legislation, is that what you're looking at, Greg?
Yeah, under pollution prevention, planning, design, construction, improvement, maintenance, or acquisition of facilities, production processes, equipment, or buildings owned or operated by, and then there's the rest of the paragraph. I don't see this.
Oh, what you're saying is the private boats are not owned and operated by the municipality.
That's the source. That, you were thinking that's the source, so,
That's the disconnect.
yeah, that's private
I
boats.
see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Well, in any case,
Okay.
It's possible.
No, it's a hypothetical, I totally get it.
I think also the last time that we did talk about a pump out boat, it would be in competition with existing businesses.
right.
So in part, does government want to step in where private sector is already operating?
No, I agree with that. And I agree that there are enough facilities to be, on Shelter Island to pump out boats. And
forcing them to go.
sometimes people from Greenport will come over and pump out people in Dana Harbor. That's not a sure thing, but it happens. But the thing that, the thing that comes up all the time is, people are just too lazy to get off their anchor and go get pumped out, If somebody comes and asks them to be pumped out right there, they don't have to do anything. Yeah, but if there was a policeman giving you a ticket for not doing it, that could get you to motivate yourself to go and get pumped out. That's what I'm saying.
How about a subsidy to private businesses for pump out on certain periods of time? Just popped
Really
into my head, I don't know.
check behavior, not
I
private.
mean, those individuals charge,
Not charging.
they charge.
No,
Yeah, you pay them.
but you give them a tip or something, but you don't.
No, okay, because
They charge.
Pecosi charges?
For public-
Cockles, yeah, I never pay at Cockles or at Island Boatyard or,
We
really.
used to pay in Port Jeff, I don't know, that would,
Yeah.
I've never pumped out here.
Well, they all have to get pumped out themselves,
Yeah. Huh. Interesting.
It's
It's gotta go somewhere.
it's true,
You
but
gotta pay for. Yeah, but I've never,
I haven't
it's
either.
something that's considered,
part of the
yeah,
marina service.
right. And if you're at the dock, you're likely to buy some
Yeah.
gas or diesel
Right.
and get some ice, you'll spend other money.
Right, whatever,
But I
It's
understand,
like ladies.
I understand your point.
in any case.
So our anchorages test the water in our anchorages ever tested? They are?
They are, every week now.
We just
It's just a
started,
new program
Yeah.
called the Blue Water Initiative, you can go online
Oh, really?
and see it. Bo or some other town person, every Monday does it.
Yep.
And then they do it sort of a handoff, and it gets to the DEC test lab and wherever that is. And,
mostly within a day or two.
yeah.
And it's, if you Googled Blue Water Initiative, you'll find it?
Blue Water Task Force.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And WAC, Matt Williamson, he did a presentation recently too about
Right.
historical data that we have, not necessarily right from the anchorages, but from the bathing beaches, Suffolk County Department of Health. And again, a really nice, first of all, nice job, tremendous, made it understandable, but data that's presented poorly. But more importantly, our water quality has been good, decades back, a long time, since testing. So that is just a nice thing to know. Now, what we don't know, that's bacteria. That's not nitrate level, that's not, other things. that
Right, but I mean, that's the thing that concerns people,
Yeah, for safety.
bathing.
Public.
Cholera.
But- Right, it's up there. Anyway, so that's just something to keep in the back of our mind. That brings us to our favorite time of the year, the Green Expo. I spoke with Peter Graham, I think maybe we could set up a table that's sort of like, that can be
Encompasses
manned
both.
by all of us, and we can sort of, work it, that way, and instead of trying to have separate tables for everything. And there's a little space constraint this year because of the school, project that's going on there.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
So probably a little consolidation, but, just to think about, if anybody can help, that day.
Right. I'm probably gonna be with Darren Tick that day, but I'll be near you, maybe I could hop over or something.
I'll look at my.
And we'll get some stuff together and, and some of the things that, we've done, that we can highlight, and we'll do a couple of graphic things and give some literature and lollipops, people like to come, have candy. So do that.
Actually, we could do a modified version of that card. Make little-
Yeah.
Make little cards. Cards go a long way. Wallet size. Wallet, like we do for deer and tick, we make these wallet size tick prevention things. It's very handy. Put it right in your purse.
You can fit easily in your pocket.
Right.
That'd be good.
Or you get a costume like a drop of water and I walk around in it or something. Wait, I know, I'll switch costumes. I'll throw on the tick, then I'll throw on the water and we walk around and hand out the
Or you
little.
can be a tick and drop a water.
It works, guys. I'm telling you, I know, I'm half joking, but half not joking. Really, it does work. You gotta have a gimmick. You gotta
All
have.
right, you're on. Make it happen.
Anyway, so, you know, I have a Easy Up and things like that, and so I'll bring that, and then we can look at the craft fair while we're there. It'd be so much fun.
Wasn't that bad last year?
Just if it's not too hot, that's always the thing, yeah. It was pretty hot last year.
It was hot, yeah.
Any old business that we need to discuss at this point? I mean, I think this next meeting will resume depending on how things go. Well, I think whatever happens with the town board and our recommendation, we'll probably resume our reviewing applications for IA systems.
You also wanted to check the next one up, who was assigned that. You wanted to check on who was assigned, because it wasn't.
No, I mean, there was a couple of ones that were sent out that did have names on them.
There was one, actually. Betty did one.
Well, no, there's a couple of new ones.
Yeah,
Oh, there's,
Aren't they new?
yeah.
Gale, Gale.
Golly, yeah.
29 Peconic is the address, and Edens and Eddie, 8
Yeah.
Quaker.
And
Aliens.
what happened to Wall Bomber? That was Tui. We didn't put over that either.
No, a lot of these have not, but there are some newer ones, is that what I'm saying? New ones like recent.
I only know those two.
Right, those, plus, you know, I have one that's pending, and Tui, I think, has one.
Yeah. And of course, Bloom is pending.
Right.
So do you need me to take one, or which one?
No, well, the
Just let me
higher
know.
powers assign them to us.
Yeah.
Just let me know which one.
I will.
So anyway, any new business that anybody would like to bring up?
Nada.
Yes, from the audience.
The audience?
Yes. Sure.
So, I didn't come with a specific proposal, not asking you for money yet, but glad you have it. But I know there's a program, there's a couple of different programs with Cornell that helps water quality in the bays. And one of them is a SPAT program where you're allowed to, if you have a dock or a bulkhead, you're allowed to get 1,000 oysters and they give you a cage and you can raise oysters. So those 1,000 oysters filter the water and you also learn about be an oyster farmer. And then they have another program which is called the, what's it called? But you become a host for a FLUPSI, which is an upweller system, right?
Right.
Okay, so was it called? The Long Island Shellfish Initiative or something. That program kind of sold out in essence. They're not taking any new participants.
So they hit their maximum.
Right, they hit their maximum for whatever, and then, I guess they have, dozens of them, and you go over to Cornell and you see them. But I wanted to know if the town, or look for some support, that the town might want to do it on their own in the future in some way, either, a private-public partnership where you might have somebody at their own private dock wants to put in a FLUPSI, or somebody in the town could use some town facility, a bulkhead or that the town has at a landing, right, and put in a FLUPSI. So in that case, you would need, you do need electricity to do this, and you need about 3.5 feet of depth at low water. So, so there is a sheet that describes the Cornell program, and I can send it to all of you, and you can see what they want. In the specifications, they say is 13 feet long by 13.5 feet wide, but there is a different FLUPSI design that's only, well, it's like 8 feet wide.
8 by 20 or.
Right,
Like a
exactly. Like a floating dock. So that could be more advantageous to certain spots where you don't want to be so wide. But you do need, like I say, you do need electricity. And you don't necessarily have to have land access. You can, as long as you have water access, you can get there in a skiff. So you don't have to cross anybody's property or, something like that. So that's my pitch. So that's, we could think about either.
So when Cornell does it, do they provide the hardware and all that stuff?
They do, yeah, they provide.
And the oysters?
I believe, yes. Mm-hmm. So they do, their staff comes out, they say bi-weekly. I think there's also like a person, who volunteers on that spot, because these things would need like more attention than that.
Right.
Like every few days, I think you have to clean them.
Yeah.
And, graduate the oysters to a different size mesh, et cetera. Now, the private-public partnership that I'm thinking about, and, is not just for the benefit of the town's water quality, but also there is a marketable feature to the oysters that we produced, right? So, that person, there's a chance that somebody who has it at their house, I think, yeah, it might be, it's a little tricky because I know you have to have like certain DEC permits, like you have to have.
Sell oysters.
Right. I think you need like a hatchery permit or something, or a grower's, you have to have permission with the DEC to actually do it.
Agri-markets, you need the agri-markets license too. If they want to sell them.
Yeah, I don't know if it's selling, right. I think it's somebody, I don't know, I have to find out with Cornell, like what happens to their oysters, that happens in their program. But I know a fellow in Southold that has one at his dock. And so he's an oyster farmer, so he can raise them for himself.
Yeah, I did this a couple of years ago, and you sign this form that says, I'm going to grow small oysters, because if you have a bunch of little oysters and you don't have that document, supposedly it's worse than having then they're offloading your waste. You become like this is a scientific, project of doing these oysters. So there is a form that you sign.
Right, with
I
the
commit.
SPAT program,
Yep.
there is, and you're not allowed to sell them. You're not allowed to be commercial. You can use them for your own private use, or you can,
Give them away.
right.
So you're thinking, Bert, of the expenses would be the FLUPSI, all associated gear with the FLUPSI, and then personnel, probably salaries for somebody to give extra attention or care to, besides the homeowner, maintain the
Right.
FLUPSI?
I mean,
What do you think?
yeah, the private partnership that I was considering was that the entity, say for myself, right? If I was to do it or with the town, that I would provide that part of it, because I would want them oysters at the end, I could get that. But the town's getting the benefit of the oysters cleaning the town water, right? It's inside a creek somewhere. And so the town's benefiting from that. And then you could either, the private entity could either pay for the FLUPSI, or there could be a subsidy for it. If it's on town property or town facility, maybe the town you could supply the electricity. I'm not saying that I don't see it to
But
be
you're thinking
funded
for
to be-
other people, like if you do it, you're saying you're willing to provide your own stuff because you're an oyster farmer. But I'm thinking about Joe Schmo who just wants to do the Flupsy and is interested in helping water quality, but what would he?
But wants to
what
eat
would he-
oysters.
Yeah, he wants the oysters, but he needs a little help with the equipment.
Right. Yeah, so then, right, so if you were opening it
How
up.
would you be coming to us with this money? Wouldn't that homeowner be coming and asking for money? Or you're thinking about a larger project that you would sort of manage or coordinate for other homeowners or?
Well, if there was interest, and if there was a specific spot, I would, like I said, I would have to get you have to go through the DEC officer because the spot has to get approved. So not every spot is going to be approved.
Right, so you could have potentially if a lot of interest, many spots for this person to be checking.
So, but there might be something like the town would have to say, this is an okay use, in this location, right? Because it would be something a little bit different. Like if you were to put this Flupsy next to your floating dock, that would be, a little different use.
That would be what?
I think it would be a little different use, of that dock. It's not a boat.
And you also have to think about the access and parking, because not everybody has a boat and can just come around the other way. Or if they're private property, they can walk down their own. But if somebody's using more like a landing or town dock or something, Daniel Laura's got trouble parking and, there's a lot, so we have to think about that too.
Right.
Like how would they get down there?
Yeah.
They're gonna park to get out to do their thing and, all right.
The SPAT program and the Flupsies are two different things.
Yes.
So, does Cornell do the Flupsies?
Yes.
Or they've just run out of,
They're not doing it.
No, they still do it. They have, they bring them back they put them out during the season.
right?
And I know there's several and, a lot of them go to like marinas because they have, they'll take a slip or whatever.
Right.
So some of them go there. And then during the warmer weather, when the oysters would be growing, they place them and they do their thing. And then when the temperature changes, they pull them out. And then the oysters, I guess, go back to Cornell, or they either plant them wildly or, town waters or use them. So I think in that direction.
Well, it's interesting, but there's a lot of moving parts that we
Yeah.
need to, we have to figure out.
Yeah.
I mean,
Just trying to
Gotta do a PowerPoint.
lay out the broader kind of vision,
Right.
just kind of making it publicly known that there is an option for water quality improvement that is different than just say a septic system or.
right, I mean, there's all sorts of things. I mean,
Well,
that's
we
why
just
we
funded one.
just
I mean,
funded the
Right, you should-
oyster refuge.
He was there with me.
Yeah, I did that. So,
Yeah.
and I would like to just make a comment that, you were very generous with several $100,000, and which wasn't even the full. 200, right, to the, I think their project even cost even more than
No,
that.
it does cost.
We just gave a portion of it, yeah.
Question is what is the bang for the dollar there, And I think, if you look at her tank, that Katie has, it has electricity and it's doing some filtration. I think the effect with a Flupsy, you get actually raising a larger oyster.
Right.
She takes hers out when it's, maybe like 5 or 7 millimeters,
Right,
and then she, broadcasts them,
on this area.
on this area.
And those oysters are not for consumption.
Yeah, we're basically trying to make a reef there.
Right. That's a clean.
Yes.
This is a, different end result.
Right.
But along the way, they're doing the same thing.
Right, or more, right. Yeah, because you are moving, a considerable amount of water
Right.
through them to, in a, say, an 8 silo kind of unit. You are, anyway.
Each oyster.
But when they presented, I mean, on their credit, they had done it before, several times before, and they did include a lot of data on the success and statistics on how much water and how successful the other reefs were in different areas.
It included eelgrass restoration too.
Oh, right, it was a two-part.
No, I think there's more than that. There's, there were also eelgrass and there were also.
Yeah, they're doing other stuff.
Seeding as well.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think that.
Huge project.
Right. I mean, if the town was to get involved, I mean, East Hampton has like a dedicated oyster, like a branch of their highway department, is an oyster, they have a hatchery, which actually, and I spoke to Barley, and I think East Hampton funds it to, I think, almost like $600,000 a year to raise, they have like a lab, which, but it's a big town.
They have a lot of money.
They have more money than we do.
$600,000.
For that.
For East Hampton, that's chump change. What?
But but it's very popular. But they also raise scallops and clams.
Yeah.
Not just oysters.
Yes.
Is that out by Montauk? Is that what you're talking about that?
I think it's in 3 Mile Harbor.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
I don't know, that peak, something.
As you know, it's aquatic habitat restoration project. And so it's not, we have a couple of those with people, with organizations. So, there's space for it if we can figure out what it is.
Saw information on how CCE was doing, it was called Community Agriculture Garden or something like that. Because they came and, came and spoke to WAC about this, I believe. Did he come to you guys? Remember?
No, it's WAC.
WAC, and he talked about, there's a big project in Tiana.
Yeah, they have,
And that involves the public.
That's Katie, that's kind of like what Katie's project is. Tiana is a much bigger.
Right, but people are, like you have your flups, you go, volunteers are actually there
Right.
doing the work of it after they're trained. And I think that's a big part of what you're talking about, getting people involved in this, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To
I think you would need some kind of coordinator.
yeah, oh, definitely. You can't just let this happen.
They won't.
It won't. All right,
So that's, that's what we need more.
yeah.
So, I think if.
All these things are good, I think, I guess up to a point, maybe somebody could do that. But cleaner the water, the better it is.
The water does, I'm in and out of West Neck almost every day, so, Daniel Lord from there going south, it was brown, it's kind of going back and forth between brown and deep green. So.
Same with, Manana.
Yeah, but it's not.
You got Shell Beach.
But the point, they didn't, there is still a place to clam out on the point there. You look at the map of where it.
It stops.
Right, so, there is. There's a few clams over there.
Yeah, island.
Yeah.
That's not what people want.
All right, well.
All right, thanks
Thank you very much.
Any other, new business?
Blue Water Task Force website open, if you guys want me to just put it up on the screen.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah. They started last, 2 weeks ago.
No,
Oh, like 6.
beginning of summer.
Yeah, June 20th is the earliest one in West, in Deering Harbor.
Oh, no, you talked about it more recently. You guys talked about it.
So. Sorry, I'm trying to get that out of the way. Okay, you can see it without all the stuff. So this is the Blue Water Task Force website, and it has a lot of the Eastern Long Island on here. And what you would do is you'd pick a point that you want to look at. This is the West Neck Anchorage.
Yeah.
So you can, zoom in close.
It's coming up low.
But you click on it, and yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And it tells you, these are the dates that they tested, and then these are the results for Enterococcus, which is your bacteria level that they're testing for. And so they've been low. The one time they were high was right after the rain, so this one's Cockles Harbor.
The one high day, the 17th, that was after that heavy rainfall we had.
Yeah.
So that's the one spike there. And then,
You look at the bigger map, all those pins are color coded.
yeah, so
They're colored for a reason.
if
The
you zoom
red's
out,
no go.
yeah, the red is bad, the yellow is a
How
warning.
quickly does the red, is that per the most
The last,
recent
yeah.
value?
Right, so what it also tells you is, so for example, this one's Sag Harbor. And it tells you this is Little Northwest Creek. And so if you scroll down, it tells you 48% of samples collected at this site over the last 12 months meet water quality standards set by New York State Department of Health. So it tells you the frequency with which it tests positive for a too high a level of bacteria. And then if you scroll down, it gives you the most recent data, and then you can pull a full report, and it'll give you an Excel spreadsheet of all the data that they have to date. So it's pretty cool. It does it for all the anchorages and kind of the more active water bodies around us. And
No, if I'm not mistaken, the concern is consumption of the raw shellfish,
yes,
not cooked.
right.
Some of those numbers closing the beaches as well, I would think.
Yeah, so sometimes the DEC will close beaches for swimming right after a heavy rain if there's high bacteria content, because people drink the water when they go swimming, if it gets in your mouth, it's the same concept as eating it.
And Suffolk County Department of Health, they're.
Is all of Shelter Island in the green? Is that?
Yes, all of Shelter Island is in the green.
Close it up.
Deering Harbor is one that's always closed, just because of the proximity to the Heights wastewater treatment plant, not necessarily because of high bacteria, but because of its proximity. And it had high bacteria around that rainfall date as well.
And now with the new closures, Deering Harbor would have been closed
Right,
based on the FDA shellfish safety thing.
right. So, yeah, this is just a fun thing to go and check out if you're using the waterways, just to, keep track.
No, it's a great initiative.
I'd love to know where the bacteria are. It's like,
Close it up,
what, Monty Python? No, let's look at where the bacteria is this week.
All right, how about a motion?
So moved.
Motion to end the meeting.
Okay. Well, you're vying for second. Well,